we're going to go on to our next item, which is 2016 Briefing 157. It's item number 7 on our agenda. And this is a briefing on the King County Library System. And most people get confused. They think the King County Library System is actually part of King County government, and it's not. So that makes for some interesting opportunities. We are so lucky in this county to have a countywide library system that serves both the unincorporated areas and most of our cities and towns. King County Library System is one of the busiest library systems in the entire country, with nearly 21 million items checked out last year. That's a lot of book reshelving. So congratulations. King County Council helped to found this library system, and we play a role in its governance by confirming the executive appointments of members and the Board of Trustees. And each year, the county has the opportunity to meet with our library director and board members, so we're glad to have you with us today. And I'm happy to continue that tradition this morning by welcoming our library director, Gary Wasden, and board president, Bob Spitzer. And so, Mary, would you begin our introduction?
Sure. Thanks, Madam Chair. For the record, I'm Mary Bergenon, and the materials for this briefing begin on page 175 of your packets. As you noted, the King County Library System was approved by the voters back in the 1940s and has been growing ever since then. Because the County Council plays a role in the confirmation of board members, each year for the last several years, the Council has had the opportunity to hear from the librarian and members of the board. And so I'm delighted that this morning we have, as you mentioned, Madam Chair, Gary Wasden, who is the county librarian, and board members Rob Spitzer and John Scheller. And I will turn it over to Mr. Wasden to present.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, council members. I'm Gary Wasden, Library Director for the King County Library System. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning just to share a few quick updates. I have our board president, Rob Spitzer, here with us, and John Scheller, who's our government relations manager for the library system, which is a new position here. So we'll just share a few quick points with you and then take a few moments to answer any questions you may have or talk about anything of interest to you. I appreciate your hospitality and the kind comments. We do have really one of the busiest. We alternate between being the busiest and the second busiest library system in the country. It's pretty remarkable when you also realize that Seattle Public Library is a separate library system for us. If you added us together, we easily would be the busiest library system in the country, if not in all of North America. Our patrons continue to be big library users and big library supporters. We've had a wonderful year. We're a little late in the year coming to you. We had to postpone a few times. So we're going to share a few things that are maybe slightly looking back at 2015, but also at 2016. One of the first things I wanted to thank you for was your support for the ballot box initiative to get ballot boxes in many of our libraries. That has been tremendous. One of our local goals here is to do everything we can as a library system to help encourage civic engagement, to help see greater voter turnout, and to make it easier for people to submit their ballots. We've seen wonderful responses for that. Many of you have taken the opportunity to come out to do a small little photo op as we've cut the ribbon at these ballot boxes. We have several more that are opening now. So thank you for support in making that happen. And just a big thanks. We have a wonderful director of elections that's been a wonderful partner to work with in the library system. We also just completed our annual summer reading program, which we do every year. That program continues to grow. This year we had over 60,000 youth participating. Those are kids and teens reading during the summer months. It's a lot of fun, and they think it's a lot of fun, but we also know it's really important. It keeps their minds active. When they go back to school in the fall, they actually are performing higher than when they left in the spring, which is critically important. We've also continued in conjunction with that program to expand our summer meals program. As most of you know, during the summer, kids are out of school. They no longer have easy access to the free meals program. This year, we expanded the number of libraries participating. We had 15 libraries that were serving meals throughout the summer. That includes lunches, dinners, and afternoon snacks. This year, we served just under 10,000 meals to kids in our 15 libraries participating in that program. That is all done free to us. we provide the space and some staff support, but it's primarily supported through funding through the Department of Education and through volunteer programs, the United Way and the Vista Volunteers. So it's a great service to provide, keeping those meals local in the communities where kids and teens have easy access to them. They are available to anyone. We don't have to check any kind of ID or anything. We just provide the meals, and any youth can come in and take part in the meal. We also last year, very importantly, formalized an agreement with the Seattle Public Library. Have kind of had an on-again, off-again relationship with the library system. So last year we did formalize that and put into writing an agreement that gives all King County residents equal access to both library systems. That's particularly important on kind of the periphery libraries, those along kind of the northern corridor and the southern corridor of Seattle, where for many Seattle residents it's easier to get to our libraries, and in some cases it's easier for our residents to get to a Seattle library. So now all of our residents throughout the King County can use both systems equally. Also want to mention that next year is our 75th birthday of the King County Library System. 75 years ago, the residents voted to establish the Rural Library District. So we'll have a great celebration going on all next year, which will be a lot of fun and well-timed with a lot of exciting things happening in the library. We'll have some information to share with you, and we'd like to encourage and share opportunities where you can come out to the libraries in your community for some of the special local celebrations. Just a quick final update on our capital projects, which of course have dominated much of the work we've done over the last 14 years. As a reminder, we passed a bond in 2004, which was a pretty major overhaul of our physical structures throughout the county, touching each part of King County. Over the last year and a half, we opened the Renton Library downtown, the Renton Highlands Library, and the Skyway Library there in unincorporated King County. The Kingsgate Library opened in Kirkland. The beautiful new White Center Library, also in an unincorporated King County, reopened. And the renovated Mercer Island Library reopened earlier this summer. Those projects all came out incredibly successful. As you all know, as well as anyone, there was a lot of contention around many of these projects. I'm very pleased to say, though, that we were able to get to a very positive place on all of these projects with the community members, and they are all happily using their libraries. We have a few remaining projects. We're very close to the end on this bond. We have the Tukwila Library, which is a brand new library in Tukwila, opening in January of next year. The Valley View Library in SeaTac is under renovation right now, and that'll be reopening in early December. We have the Boulevard Park Library being renovated in Burien, and that'll be taking place next spring. We have a new library going into the Panther Lake region of Kent. That is an existing space that we're currently in negotiations for leasing that we'll do kind of a retrofit to make it into a nice new library, a second space in Kent. And then last, we are expanding the library presence that we have in the South Center Mall, doubling the size of that library. So all of those projects will be taking place next year. And fittingly, finishing up all of these capital projects in our 75th year will be an extra special challenge for that. With that, I'm going to turn over to Rob, who's just going to tell you a little bit about our strategic planning process.
Thank you. So I'm Rob Spitzer, and I'm the president of the Board of Trustees this year for the King County Library System. There are 5 trustees, especially when all of our positions are filled. And if I could put it in a little plug, when there are vacancies, it's really great to have them filled promptly, just because it's a big system and we're all volunteers. And to have fewer than 5 sort of involved and trying to oversee at some level, it's a real challenge. So
can
anyway,
I ask, are you down a member at this moment?
Right now we have 5, but
Okay, good.
we were, until 2 months ago through 2016, we were at 4. So
Okay.
it becomes a little tough. Anyway, we have, as you know, a new executive director, Gary Wasden, who, if I could put a plug in, he's doing a fabulous job. We're really very, very happy that he's on board. Now that he's been there just a little over a year and a half, we are doing something that's very important for organizations on a regular basis to do, and that's we're embarking again in a strategic planning process. So, Gary's now had enough time to sort of get to know the lay of the land, and looking around really nationally and actually internationally at library usage, it's changing around the world. We all know ebooks are playing a role now that they never did before. The King County Library System actually has the highest number of ebooks checked out in the United States. So we are a leader in that area, but sort of the changing role of the library is something that we're looking at very carefully, and as I mentioned, we've embarked on a formal strategic planning process. I know that Fred Jared has already been sort of interviewed, and people are going out in the community now. Our planning consultants are helping us sort of analyze where should we go in the future, just because library system plays such an important role. We want to be ahead. We don't want to sort of fall behind. So that's something that's really important that we're doing. Something else that it's important to share with you is that we take our role as stewards of public monies, tax dollars, very seriously. We had a levy lid lift in 2010, sort of in the midst of the recession, and the community resoundingly supported a levy lid lift for the libraries, which is a major vote of confidence. So we have generally budgeted sort of 8 years between levy lid lifts. We're trying to go farther and longer without having to ask for another levy lid lift. And so hopefully we can do it and defer it until 2020 instead of 2018. I know this year, in terms of our budgeting for the next year, Gary's asked all of our departments to look at 3% reductions within each of their budgets, just so that we're really careful about not, there's a certain level of prosperity in the county, as we know, but we're not taking that for granted, and we're really doing our best to be careful stewards of our dollars. So, thank you. And
Thank you.
John, were you going to say something?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, council members. Just a quick word. My position, Government Relations Manager, was created in April, and my role is to improve and strengthen relationships with our other jurisdictions, county council members, community service area, community associations like West Hill. In fact, I saw Bong St. Domingo here. I get to interact with him frequently in the Skyway area. So as part of the strategic planning process, this afternoon we're meeting with the Sound Cities Association members, mayors and city councils of all the cities in King County, and just doing a lot of listening to hear input for our strategic plan. Thank you.
So, Rob, I want to say that I so appreciate the fact that you said that our new director is doing an amazing job. It's fabulous that every time I've called, within a matter of a few minutes, I've got a phone call back or you answered, and I get an answer that is exactly what we were hoping for. So thank you for taking on some difficult problems, things that I'm sure that you didn't realize we were going to have to deal with, not only inside libraries, but outside the libraries. And at this moment, everything is perfect. So that's a good thing. Yeah, knock on wood. So that's great. And I'm sure that I could say that all of us are excited about your 75th anniversary, and we'd like to celebrate that with you. That's wonderful. We are also glad about taking the tax out to 2020 so that there'll be less opportunities for suppression of other taxing districts. It's kind of a mess right now with how being close to the ceiling we are. So two things. One, I didn't know we were serving meals. That is fantastic. So if you could get me the list of places in my district where those are being served, I would love to know that and go out and visit. It is really important, and I'm glad that the schools are partnering so well with you. I was there when the Duval new library opened, and they did the book line where we passed the books. That was so fun. What was it called? There was a name for that. But anyway, it was really fun to do, and I think that we passed so many books that it probably made it easier to make the move. But it was truly an old-fashioned town event, and one that I really think is fantastic, and I don't think anybody that was there will ever forget it. So that was really fun. Bookmobiles. How many, where, number of volume? How are we doing on bookmobiles?
We have 19 vehicles, and I don't have in front of me the breakdown specifically of their visits, but I can send that to you. I will say, though, that it continues to expand and grow. We actually, this year, for the first time, hired dedicated drivers. It had been a job that library staff did that kind of rotated out amongst the libraries. So we started hiring dedicated drivers just because it's increasingly a bigger and bigger part of our service. What we found, as you can imagine, not just in the rural areas where the library may not be close by, but even in the more urban areas where people lack good transportation. There's been such a demand to get those bookmobiles out to housing developments, to senior centers, to daycares, and places where we have a nice captive audience that are so excited to see that vehicle come out. Along with that, we've expanded that. We've always had a techmobile, which is a bookmobile with computers on it, and this year we launched, through funding through our foundation, a program we called Idea X, which is a mobile maker space. So it is taking a bookmobile and turning it into a mobile maker lab with 3D printing, coding classes, design classes, and programs targeting youth, although we do have programs for all ages, but heavily targeted towards youth that we can take out into the community and teach kids about newer kinds of technology.
So I was at the 3D competition, and those kids were rocking and rolling with all
amazing.
kinds of great ideas. So when you went the older kids class, I'm interested in signing up for the older 3D class. Thank you for your partnership with the voting. It's wonderful for people to know that they're either at city halls or libraries for our ballot box, so people have that opportunity. And thank you also for the drop-off at Redmond Ridge. That is really, really popular too. Any questions for anybody?
Yes.
Councilmember Gossett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You mentioned about the e-books. I was kind of fascinated by our system here in King County being the one that's most frequently accessed for e-books, but I've never been able to figure out what is an e-book.
It's sort of exactly like a print book, except it's digital. It's a little, you use it just like a library book. So we buy ebooks from vendors, just like a person could buy an ebook from their iPad or their Kindle. So we buy them, and they're available through our website. And you borrow them, meaning you go to our website, you find the one you want, you log in with your library card, you download it to your device, and it stays on your device for 2 weeks, and then it disappears after 2 weeks. So you're borrowing it, you have 2 weeks to read it, and then it's gone. The nice thing is there's no overdue fines. You don't have to remember to return it. It just automatically goes away.
And you don't have to come to the library.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And we're at about 3 million ebooks circulated from KCLS last year. That makes us the busiest in the United States. Unfortunately, Toronto is a really busy library. So in North America, Toronto holds the title, but we're first in the U.S.
Oh.
And that question, let me just add, since many people are still finding out we have ebooks, we're really excited, again, through funding through our foundation. We actually later this fall, in November, we'll be putting in 2 ebook kiosks at SeaTac Airport. So that people traveling through the airport will see our kiosk right there advertising our ebooks. They'll be able to browse the collection, download an ebook there. If they don't have a library card, they'll still be able to use it. It'll limit them to just up to 3 books, and just for 1 week, but at least they can still try it, and then they can get a library card and have full use of the system. So that'll expose even more people to our collections.
And how do you know what books are on there? Is there a list of those too?
Yeah, you can go, if you're just at home or on your device, you can go through our website and browse the collection. These kiosks, we have some in some of our libraries. This will be the first that we have outside of the library at SeaTac, and it's actually just a touch screen you can browse through. You can search for a particular title. You can browse look for a mystery or a romance, or just scroll through and see something that grabs your eye.
Yeah, I'm looking for the Gang of 4.
I'll check.
Yeah.
Mr. Gossett, I have an autographed copy of that book. Yeah, thank you for autographing it. I might let you share it. Also on read aloud books, how are we doing on read aloud books? Are there lots of those being downloaded too?
Yeah, Absolutely, absolutely. It's fantastic.
Claudia Bamtucci?
Thank you. This is very, I'm sorry, we're going to just use your time here now, but have attempted several times to download books, and I have to say I'm really technically challenged with it. Suppose people like me need some help. How do you do this? I mean, I can get it on my computer, but I can't read it.
Yeah, we
Is there a help site or something?
You're in good company. There are lots of people like that. We do two ways, really, whatever's easiest for you. So at our libraries, I mean, you could walk into a library at any time and just ask for help. We also do these sort of ebook clinics where we actually sort of set up a little separate service station in our libraries, and that's just for that purpose, where they can sit down with you, because everybody has a different device and a different skill level. One-on-one help is usually best. For some people, if you are the kind who can do this over the phone, you can also call our Ask KCLS service, and they can talk you through it over the phone. A lot of people want to be there in person with the device, though. So whatever's easiest for you. You can either do it over the phone or just stop by the library.
I think it's really helpful for those of us who want to join this growing
Yes.
group of folks. And then just a quick thanks and an apology. The thank you is for your partnership on the ballot drop boxes. It's so important. I think we're all living it this year, how important it is to make sure that as many people as possible are able to vote. We try. It's one of the most important functions we have here at the county. And the library has been just a tremendous, tremendous partner to locate those. So thank you very much. And I apologize for the $8.30 in overdue book fines that I currently have. I will make good on that as soon as possible.
helps.
Part of the
It
problem is
helps
you don't
contribute
bug
to
me
our
about it. I have to go up.
We appreciate the cash.
Thank you.
We'll give you extra time if you want to take care of that right now, so your conscience will be fine. Councilmember Dombrovskis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A third of my district's in the city of Seattle and served by the Seattle Public Library. The balance of my district, Shoreline, Lake Forest Park, Kenmore, Waltham, Woodinville, and part of Kirkland, is served by King County Library System. I hear from constituents from time to time that would like to see increased interoperability, if you will, between the two systems. What is the status of your relationship with the Seattle Public Library in terms of interloan and seamlessness from the user's perspective? We seem to, maybe we fixed this, but we seem to have always a little bit of an issue there. And
Yeah.
what would it take to make it seamless if it isn't?
I think right before you came in the room, I mentioned this, that we did formalize a written agreement with Seattle Public Library. It's been kind of an on-again, off-again relationship, and for long periods of time, it was very informal, which is never good because then it just can disappear when somebody leaves. So we actually put it in writing. So right now, all residents of King County have access to both library systems. So you can use either one regardless of which side of the border you live on. As far as additional stuff, we are eager to continue to do more together and to work more closely together. We actually have a meeting with our senior management teams of both library systems coming up in 2 weeks to sort of lay the groundwork. One of the key things that I'd like to do is to see us do a sort of unified summer reading program, because we both do one. And summer reading programs have themes, and we use different themes, which confuses everyone, especially if you think about, our major media outlet, Seattle Times, of course, often has coverage about the Seattle Public Library reading program, and our patrons are reading that and get confused about what that means, and that doesn't match with what they have. So looking at how we can sort of unify that so that at least we're using common language, we're operating at the same time, and that people can more seamlessly use our services. So we're continuing to grow that, and we'll continue to do so.
And one other, thank you for that. I'm sorry I missed the other presentation.
No problem. No problem.
A couple years ago, there was a concern raised from a labor relations perspective about the custodian's contract with the King County Library System. What is the status of that, and what kind of work has the library system done to make sure we treat all workers with a high degree of respect, and also help lift them up by paying a living wage?
Exactly. So we have ended that contract early and are in the process of putting out an RFP We've tightened up the language in the RFP that will remove that loophole that allowed the current contract award to be made, so that it is a contract that is available to everyone that meets both the letter of the law as well as the spirit of the law. And that RFP, I think, actually went out today, probably about a month process before we have a contract award to announce.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I was just looking through your book that you gave us. Thank you for doing that. And looking at one of the libraries and how exciting it is in this picture to be able to sit in really comfortable furniture and look out the beautiful windows and be able to read, and sort of like a front room. I'm thinking this might be the
It's rented.
The Renton Library, okay. It looks very similar to one of the libraries in my district, but on the flip side of where the things are.
Right.
It's really, really, really beautiful. So thank you for that.
By the way,
So,
that library has received national awards.
On Cedar River.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it is beautiful. And I got to tell you that the Fall City one looks out at some beautiful, and so does the Carnation one look out on some really beautiful areas too. So it looks a lot the same, where you can just go in and go, oh.
Just nice spaces to sit and enjoy.
Yeah.
It is. And I think, the Renton Library, if I can just add, I alluded earlier to some of our community challenges, and Renton was certainly one where the plan was to rebuild the library in a different location instead of this space over the river, and the community fought, and rightfully so. And that library is stunning and kind of full service, and great recognition to the community for that. As Rob said, the library has won numerous awards, including the American Institute of Architects Library of the Year Award for a library renovation project. So it's wonderful to have our buildings recognized, but it's even more wonderful when that work came directly from the community fighting to keep their library.
I remember the ballot measures, I remember the discussions, I remember the emails, and more emails. So thank you for all your hard work, and that it is really, really beautiful. If we were to put together a group of people from the 12th and 10th floor that would like to be taught about all the different things on our computers and such, could we arrange something like that?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay, I
easy to
think
do.
we may organize something like that over the holidays.
Yeah, we'd be
Great.
glad to have a staff member can come meet here if we can just find a space. If you have a space here that we could do that. that'd
We
be
will
great.
get you that. And we'll also sign people up so you'll know how many people and get a general idea of what questions there are.
And if I can also tell you, just because it might be of interest to you, we did just a couple of weeks ago win and renew the contract for service that we provide to the Youth Service Center here in Seattle. So you may not know that there's a library in the Youth Service Center, quite a nice library that has historically been operated by King County Library System, even though it's here in Seattle. And they put that out to bid to make sure we were doing a good job, but also just to see if there were other ways of providing service. And we won the bid and are in the process of renewing the contract now. So we'll continue that service. And we're also working with, as they look to build the new detention center, we'll have a new library that we work with them to build in that space as well.
Excellent.
Madam Chair?
Didn't
Since
realize
that came up, may I add one
Yes, please. Councilmember Balducci.
In the adult divisions of the jail system, years ago, there was a contract with the library, and for a number of unavoidable reasons, we don't have that any longer. But I just want to encourage you, as I encourage the jail director, to continue having discussions about when and if that might be something we could renew, because having reading materials for folks who are in the facilities, I just think is really good all the way around for a number of reasons. And the jail does a pretty good job of trying to maintain a volunteer-free book drive, but they just don't have the expertise and the resources that you all have. So I understand that there was a financial challenge there that there's nothing we can do about it. It's not as if we're rolling in money now. But I just want to encourage us to continue to look for opportunities to expand that service. And I thank you very much for what you're doing at the Juvenile Division.
Thanks.
Thank you. I will be calling you. You said 6 or 7 things that I want to pick your brain on that very same topic. So thank you so much for all you do and for the great asset you are in our community.
Thank you all.
Thank you.